We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Ring that notification bell so you get notified when we come on live. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this college football national rebel outpost with a donation to hit the grow the channel, to keep the lights on. Just hit that $sign where you make your comment, and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio. What a wild day. Everybody, welcome on into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Thank you all for coming on in. We'll do a roll call here in a little bit. Again, if you're new to the channel, if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe, super chat, supersede all the other comments and phone calls. You talk about whatever you want to talk about in college football. The floor will be yours. Now, this is a stacked show. I got to warn you, another stacked show here at PATC. We wake up this morning and we all hear the news, the breaking news, that Ted Carter, the Ohio State University president, resigns. there is an empty chair at the Ohio State presidential office. My goodness. What a time for that chair to be empty. Ted Carter resigns because of an inappropriate relationship, and we're not going to talk about that inappropriate relationship. We'll let other people handle that. Other than what type of relationship that was, how deep it went, might affect what Ohio State does when either hiring from within or hiring from outside of the university. And I don't know which way it's going to go. We did an episode. If you haven't watched it, go watch it after this live show, of course. Because we're not going to talk too much about it in this live show because we did an episode and there's other stuff that I want to talk about here. We've got other big news to talk about. So, go watch episode 474. We're going to go through it real quick here. It's quite the bad timing. I got to tell you that. Here we are. All the universities are trying to pass some form of the SCORE Act. It's happening. They're trying to get it done. We just had the round table. Donald Trump. We've got a bipartisan bill that's going to be introduced to the Senate this week. A Republican senator, Schmidt, a Democratic senator, Cantwell, that's going to reform the Sports Broadcasting Act, an attempt to do so. We've got a situation in the Big Ten. We do have a fracture. It's still there. It may not be pulsating right now. The fracture might not be pulsating. We're probably not going to be in an earthquake anytime soon. But there is a fracture. You got some people at Michigan, some people at USC, not in an official capacity, going to Dallas, Texas, in a supposedly secret meeting with Smash Sports, which is propped up by Smash Capital. Holy smokes. You've got the Ohio State University at the center of action. How do I say this? You got Ohio State University at the center of cloak and dagger positioning the hub, the Buckeye hub, when it comes to other universities communicating with the Big Ten, other boosters communicating with the Big Ten, and potential realignment configuration, the next realignment wave a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And the president in the middle of all that is now gone. So, for those who, and we're going to go through it real quick. For those who missed it, go to episode 474 and we do a deep dive on all that. And then I want to go through, I want to go through a little bit of an article that Brett McMurphy wrote for On3, relying on using the power ratings that Colin Wilson at Action Network uses to rank the teams the metrics, the algorithm, whatever. We're not going to go in a deep dive on all that. But it tries to project who's going to be favored in what game. And then it kicks out information that says this team is going to be favored 10 out of the 12 games that they play. This team is going to be favored 11 out of the 12 games that they're going to play. This team is going to be favored in half of the games that they're going to play. This team is going to be favored in all of the games that they're going to play. Now, of course, weekly results affects all that, right? But at the beginning of the season, or at least in March 9th, there are a handful of teams that are projected to be the favorites in every game they play. Now, this is not unusual. It's not unusual. Okay? I don't want to... the Georgia Bulldogs have been favored in 58 out of their last 60 regular season games, for God's sakes. But what makes this unusual, this article that Brett McMurphy put out, is because of these large conferences, these imbalanced schedules, you got a Big Ten team that, and according to Colin Wilson's ratings, there's a Big Ten team that is considered the fourth best, and I don't have them at number 4. But because they avoid 1, 2, and 3, this certain Big Ten team is going to be favored in all of their 12 games. But the biggest shocker of them all, is that there is a certain team, a certain football program that has just moved from FCS to FBS. They made the leap from the Missouri Valley Conference, in which they have dominated, in which they've won 10 national championships in the last, 15, 20 years. FCS, the North Dakota State Bison. The North Dakota State Bison, who's moving into the Mountain West Conference this year. According to the power rankings of Action Network, the North Dakota State Bison on March 9th is projected to be the favorites in all 12 games of their first season in FBS, Football Bowl Division, Subdivision. FBS. North Dakota State's going to be favored in all 12 games. Holy smokes. Now, at this time, North Dakota State is not eligible to go to a bowl game. At this time, North Dakota State is not eligible to make it into the college football playoffs. However, North Dakota State is, they're going after that waiver. They're going after that waiver. They're saying, hey, this ain't fair. This ain't right. We're paying $5 million. $5 million to make the transition. We're ready to go, for God's sakes. Of course we should be in a bowl game. Of course we should be in the playoffs if we are the highest ranked G6 team in the land. And I kind of agree with them, to be honest. Going from $5,000 to $5 million, that waiver should be ripped up. Not the waiver, but the hurdle that you have to go through. You should not have to sit there for a couple of years and miss out on bowl opportunities or going to the playoffs. MBM. I don't know what this is about. I do not know what this is about. Thank you for the super chat. Max McNally got absolutely robbed. I have no idea. You got to explain to me, MBM. I don't know what this means. I have no idea what that means. Explain to me. Somebody explain to me in the chat room. Thank you for the $2 holler, though, Mr. Cowboy. I appreciate it. I very much appreciate it. But I have no idea what that means. So that's a wrestler. A Minnesota wrestler lost the Big Ten championship from a horrible call. Well, I mean, you know, that's just how it is. That is just a life of a gopher. A life of a gopher. Who did he lose to? I mean, I'm guessing it was a Nittany Lion, right? Bob Swanger's Nittany Lion. Is that what happened? Yes, a takedown with 1 second left would have won it. That's too bad. That is too bad. Thank you for the update, MBM. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for the $2 holler. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And then, so we've got a couple of those stories we're going to go through. The Brett McMurphy article is very interesting. So we're going to go through that. And then Greg Sankey spoke today on the Paul Feinbaum show. And I first read the excerpts of what the national reporters were reporting on what Greg Sankey said. And I think, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. I mean, Sankey did come out and say, when asked by Paul Feinbaum, Sankey said, I'm paraphrasing here, but Sankey said, he came out and said, I'm not in favor of making our own world, making our own, going silo. I'm not in favor of that. I want to build relationships. I want to work this out. I want, and we're going to go through some of the words that he said. So when I first read about this interview that Feinbaum had with Sankey, I'm like, okay, good. Some of the presidents have publicly stated out loud that they're not too happy and they're drawing up plans. Ross Dellinger reported that SEC, they're drawing up some plans if they have to go silo, if their frustrations get too much about the governance piece of college sports. But Sankey's reaction, his answer to Paul Feinbaum, I thought it was encouraging. But that didn't last too long. That did not last too long. I would ask you all, if you're interested in this subject, go listen to what Greg Sankey actually said, how he said it, body language, word usage, and listen to what he said to Paul Feinbaum. I did twice. The first time I was like, whoa, this was a little bit different than what I took from the excerpts of the national reporters reporting on the interview. And then I had to watch it the second time. And I was like, damn. Let me just say this, and then we'll go into a roll call and we'll get into our show. Very interesting stack show today. But I believe I listen to it. I know you don't have to believe anything I say. Go listen to it. Paul Feinbaum, Greg Sankey. But this is what I got out of it from listening to it twice. Greg Sankey gave a warning shot to everybody. This was not President Moorhead warning shot. This was the commissioner warning shot. And in true Greg Sankey's fashion, he did the old passive-aggressive, don't blame me. It's out of my control. It's out of my control. Greg Sankey said, look, and I'm paraphrasing, we're going to go through some of the precise language together, and then you can watch it on your own, because I cannot play the interview. But Greg Sankey, I'm paraphrasing, said, I don't like the idea. When asked, when pushed by Paul Feinbaum, I don't like the idea of going on our own. It would be difficult politically. We want to work with people. We are very important to the Division I. We want to get a federal solution. We want everybody, basically doing the same thing. But then Greg Sankey said, but I have to acknowledge, Greg Sankey acknowledged in this interview that there are people in his conference that are ready to climb up Silo Mountain. Now, he doesn't use the term Silo Mountain. That's our term. But he acknowledges today, big time warning shot, if we do not get federal standards, if that SCORE Act does not pass, can we just cut to the chase? Can we just talk honestly amongst the PATC family members? If that SCORE Act does not pass, the silo option gets hotter and hotter and hotter in the SEC, and Sankey tells everybody today that there are already people there. There are people in his conference that are already there. They've already got their climbing gear on. They've already climbing up that Silo Mountain. And then you know how Greg Sankey answers the other questions. Like the SBA. Basically saying that should be for another day. We'll talk about that on another day. We got to get the SCORE Act passed. And then Sankey basically saying it's absolutely ridiculous. Now I agree in large part on what he said. Nobody's cutting the women Olympic sports. It is the men's Olympic sports that have to be worried about. And then he talked about how many more scholarships the SEC has added in the non-revenue sports over the last year. Or not just the non-revenue sports, but all scholarships in their revenue and non-revenue sports. But mostly non-revenue sports, obviously. So basically he's saying it's not our problem. It's not our problem. It's not our problem. And then Greg Sankey does the Sankey. He does the Sankey. I'm coining that phrase. He does the Sankey. He does the passive-aggressive. He looks into the camera, or he's looking at Paul Feinbaum. He's looking in the camera as he's talking on a Zoom call, on a thing with Paul Feinbaum. And Greg Sankey says the following. He says, hey, you know, if it was up to me, again, I'm not getting the exact words correct. So go ahead and listen to you, and we're going to go through a report on it. But Greg Sankey basically says, if it was up to me, when talking about possible expansion, when talking about going, possibly the SEC going their own way, he kind of veered off to conference expansion, realignment. He kind of took one question, but he wanted to answer. He wanted to insert an answer to a question that he wasn't asked. He wanted to make sure this was out there. Greg Sankey said the following, and I'm paraphrasing. If it was up to me, the Southeastern Conference Commissioner, if it was up to me, everybody would stay exactly where they are. If it was up to me, everybody would stay exactly where they are. Don't blame me. Don't blame Greg Sankey for what happens next. Don't blame. I don't like the idea of going the silo. We don't need to expand. I wish everybody would stay exactly where they are. And he knows that Petitti knows, that Sankey knows, that Petitti knows, that Sankey knows that what Petitti wants and the Big Ten presidents want, they're not done. But Sankey's saying, you know, if it was up to me, everybody would stay exactly where they are. Well, that's not happening. Obviously, that's just not going to happen. It's never been that way, and it's never going to be that way. All right. So we've got a stack. This show is going to be something else. Let me go through a roll call real quick here. Ryan Brooks is in the house. Go Tigers. LSU Tigers. Jared Jones, Mr. Buckeye. Rich Austin, Utah Ute. Case Struthers. Boomer. Sooner. Bruce Harris. Bob Swanger is in the house. Jay Chapman is here. Mr. Buckeye, Kayla Ramirez, Sparty, Zero Wiz. Jansen Roberts is in the house. Amy, thank you for coming on in. Amy, loved a stacked show. Go Utes. Absolutely stacked show. Heartbreak 25. Let the Southeastern Conference break away. The Big Ten will continue to grow in a national conference power. Al Bundy, hook 'em horns. Arch to Coleman. I know. That Cam Coleman going to the Longhorns. Yeah, it's I keep going back and forth between the Longhorns and the Buckeyes. Healing, Florida's in the house. Silo. D5 Terps is in the house. MBM, thank you for coming on in. Mr. Cowboy. Rod Nix is here. Bimba 75. 79. Go Blue fellow college football sickos. Y Clan is in the house. Hey everyone, and thanks OBD Don for the gifted membership subscription the other day. Opie. Thank you, Opie. Thank you for doing that, sir. And thank you for saying thank you, Clan. I appreciate you coming on in. The Big Gun Shop. The Big Gun Shop is in the house. Tumasta. And again, thank you so much for the $2 holler, MBM. I very much appreciate it. We've got Daniel Montcastle. The Expansion Crush. Mr. Hoosier is in the house. MGC Sooner is here. Jason Spangler, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, Tazbo is here. Jose Fidon, USC, Orange Hoof, Edward the Auburn Tiger. Who else has made it? We've got Lockman. Thank you for coming on in. SCC, don't like them, no way. Greg, Buckeye Greg is here. Thank you, Buckeye Greg. Appreciate it, sir. Kay Newen, thank you, Kay. Appreciate coming on in. Michael Smith. Dale Donuts. Yo, I'm here. Go Huskers. Go Huskers. Mr. Seminole Morris Simmons is in the house. Elliot Howard, thank you for coming on in. Appreciate it. All right. So first of all, we're going to go through a story real quick here that we went through earlier today in episode 474. Mr. Kata, Ohio State President Kata, president resigns after an inappropriate relationship with someone seeking resources. Carter resigned after disclosing to university trustees that he had an inappropriate relationship with someone seeking public resources to support her personal business. This sounds really bad. It happened. He resigned on March 9th. The board appreciates the president's contributions, the Citizenship 2035 plan. Ohio State said it will share additional information about the leadership transition in the coming days. And Carter talks about how much success, how much progress Ohio State has made under his leadership. Linda and I leave Ohio State with gratitude and appreciation for this wonderful community, university, whatever. Now, if you need a deeper dive on that story, again, we released episode 474 of this morning, and we did a deeper dive on that. But let's make something perfectly clear. Ohio State's going to be fine. The football program, which we are interested here in, because we're a college football YouTube channel, is going to be fine. Ross Bjork, the athletic director, Ryan Day, the head coach, the incredible support system that they got at Ohio State, the fans, the boosters, the facilities, the recruiting grounds, the relationships, the success, the NIL, on and on and on and on and on. They're going to be fine. But whoever fills that chair, whoever is the next president of Ohio State, that's a big bleeping deal when it comes to the future of the Big Ten. And if it's a big deal when it comes to the future of the Big Ten, then it's a big deal to everybody. President Carter, now he had an inappropriate relationship. He resigned. He's gone. But he's been working on other things, not just that inappropriate relationship. President Carter has been the point man when it comes to the presidents of the Big Ten, when it comes to the next transformation of the Big Ten, that I believe includes expansion. He's been the guy, he's been the point man on this. President Carter supported the UC investment deal. He was willing to work with all the other universities. A bigger stake for Ohio State when it came for the for-profit entity, the Big Ten Enterprises. A little bit more money when it comes to unequal media money, media shares in the Big Ten for the Buckeyes. Extending the grant of rights from 2036 to 2046. Ted Carter was willing to get this done. Willing to get it done. It did not get done. USC and Michigan were not on board. But the Buckeyes were. Now, there was still some work to do. The Buckeyes still were not comfortable that they were not receiving enough power within the governance of the Big Ten Enterprises. But it sounded like it probably would have been worked out. It probably would have been worked out. But during all that, Ted Carter picked up a lot of political IOUs within the Big Ten. President Ted Carter had the bully pulpit. It was a faction of one within the Big Ten when it comes to whatever happens next. President Carter just expressed a week ago in an interview that how he sees the Super League and how he sees an expansion of the Big Ten, whatever happens, and he's not really a big favor of the Super League, but whatever happens, the Ohio State Buckeyes are not going to have their brand and value diluted anymore. So whatever happens in the next iteration of the Big Ten, the expansion of the Big Ten, the Buckeyes are going to get more. And Ted Carter was spearheading that while making sure that everybody else in the Big Ten was going to gain some more security and a bigger overall payday in the next meeting negotiations. Ted Carter had expansion biasness. Just like whoever, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but whoever replaces President Ted Carter is going to be in a very powerful position, and they're going to come in with their own personal biasness. And it could change the direction of what the Buckeyes, what the University of Ohio State wants to do. Maybe or maybe not. But we can tell you, and we've been telling you this, Ted Carter, when it came to the next expansion of the Big Ten, favored the Southeastern addition. Ted Carter favored the addition of the city of Atlanta. Ted Carter was not all that open to a Western addition to the Big Ten. Now, maybe all that changes. Or maybe it changes just slightly. We don't know. We don't know what ultimately the Big Ten would have done with this president being the spearhead, being the tip of the spear, I should say. We're not going to know. But I do know this. It's the only thing we really do know about this. Who is named interim president? That's a big deal. Because there's a possibility that the interim president becomes the permanent president. So first of all, who's ever named the interim president, that's a big deal. Second of all, is the hire going to come from within or outside of Ohio State? The first call I made before we did the episode, the person that we talked to, Money Perch, that it would still come, the next hire would come from the outside, just like Ted Carter. But I had a phone call recently who thought, I don't think so. I think we're going to do it from the inside. We're going to do it from our Ohio State guy who's been at the university in some capacity, major impactful capacity. We got to know this guy's character inside and out. We got to know this woman's character inside and out. They want to hire somebody that they know. So we've got conflicting information for you. But that new hire at Ohio State, whoever becomes the permanent president, I cannot think of a hire that is going to be more important, more impactful on what happens in the Big Ten and what happens in football, college football, than this hire that's going to happen at Ohio State. So, breaking news early this morning. We do a bigger deep dive, episode 474. Go check it out. Now, I want to go through this extremely interesting article. Brett McMurphy. We do not go through the whole thing. We do not go through the whole thing. Brett McMurphy, Notre Dame, Georgia, and yes, North Dakota State among 6 schools projected favorites in every game in 2026. Holy smokes. In North Dakota State's first FBS season, the Bison would share a unique distinction with some of the nation's biggest brands. North Dakota State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas Tech, and Utah are projected to be favored in all 12 regular season games in 2026 based on a power rankings from college football predictive analysis Colin Wilson from Action Network. Ohio State or Indiana also could be favored in every game, depending on who is favored when the Buckeyes visit the Hoosiers October 17th. Wilson has Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2 in his overall power ratings, but currently projects their game as a pick'em. Ohio State and Indiana are both projected favorites in their 11 remaining regular season contests. Even though it's Notre Dame's first season in the FBS as a Mountain West member, and Bison are Wilson's highest rated group of 6 team. Holy smokes. They're projected to be favored in each Mountain West game. Their non-conference schedule consists of Jacksonville State, Fordham, Sacramento State, and non-conference game against Mountain West member San Jose State. While North Dakota State is projected as the group top 6 team, the Bison in their first 2 years transitioning from FCS are ineligible for the Mountain West title, a bowl game, in the college football playoff. However, North Dakota State plans to file a waiver to abolish the ineligibility rule. Notre Dame for the second consecutive season and is the year projected as a favorite in all 12 games. The Fighting Irish will be at least 2 touchdown favorites in 10 of 12 games. That is unbelievable. At least a 2 touchdown favorite in 10 of 12 games. Their smallest projected spreads, November 7th at home against Miami and October 17th at BYU. Entering 2026, Notre Dame has been favored in 23 consecutive regular season games. The disparity of the power conference schedules in what teams are or not on their league schedule has a great impact on a team's success. Even though Georgia is power rated as only the SEC's third best team this year behind Texas A&M and Texas, the Bulldogs, Georgia, they don't play the Aggies. They don't play the Longhorns. So Georgia is projected favorites in all 12 games for a 4th consecutive season. The Big Ten's Penn State and the Big 12 Utah are each projected to be favorites in all 12 games. However, neither is rated as the best team in their respective conferences. Penn State is projected as only the 4th best Big Ten team, but doesn't play any of the top 3 teams: Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon. The Nittany Lions' smallest Big Ten spreads is -4 at Michigan, -7 at Washington, and -9 at USC. Wow, those spreads are, I think, a little off. No disrespect to Penn State. I don't think you're going to be -4 at Michigan. But again, this is Colin Wilson's power index, so we shall see. Utah only ranks as the number 19 overall in Wilson's power ratings and second in the Big 12, but is still projected to be favored in each game. The Utes don't play league favorites, Texas Tech, and they host BYU, the Big 12's third best team. Texas Tech, Big 12 prohibitive favorite, ranks third nationally. The Red Raiders don't play any of the league's next three best teams and are projected to be at least a 2-touchdown favorite in every Big 12 game. Holy smokes. I don't know if we can talk about the Big 12 as being the conference that has the most competitive balance anymore. The Red Raiders are 2-touchdown favorites in every Big 12 game. And finally, in the article, besides the 6 programs, plus the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers, projected as favorites in each game in 2026, Miami, Oregon, South Florida, UTSA are projected to be favorites in 11 of 12 games. 11 of 12. Also, LSU and Texas A&M are projected favorites in 10 of 12 games. All right, so I just found that very interesting. Again, it's all based upon Colin Wilson's power metrics that he uses. 6 teams are projected to be the favorites in all their games in Indiana and Ohio State. One of them is going to be the 7th one projected. And North Dakota State, first year FBS in the Mountain West Conference, is projected to be the favorites in all 12 of their games. All their non-conference games and all their Mountain West Conference games. Wow. Don Scruggs, Georgia is just that great. Wow. According to CFB NFL 4, Columbus Dispatch, an unnamed source came to the board of trustees to tell them of Carter's inappropriate relationship. The board confronted Carter about it, prompting Carter to disclose and resign. Wow. Wow. Bimba 7579. Santo Ono is available. Santo Ono is available. Although I think a lot of Buckeyes are doing this. Yeah, the Buckeyes are not going to be. The Buckeyes are not going to be hiring Santo Ono. Now, there are people who believe that Jim Tressler could be in the mix. I have no idea. I'm sorry, Jim Tressel. But that's the first, again, we talked about it earlier, the first communication I had with BTM and the booster at Ohio State, they thought it would be somebody from the outside once again. But the second phone call, now they think it's going to be somebody close, somebody inside of Ohio State, somebody that they know the character of. Remember, they had a little bit of an issue with the previous president as well. So, but anyways, we did episode 474. You can, if you want a more deep dive on that issue, very important issue, take a look at that. Moen, holy smokes, 10 gifted memberships. My goodness. Moen, thank you so much for your incredible generosity. Holy smokes. Adam, Tide grad, always sleuthful, Hankful, D.W. Zafod. Boy, these names. Woo! P.J. Tarhill, Anthony Mazzano, Vichy 2059, Charles Chamberlain, in Rip City. All were gifted a membership by the incredible generosity of Mr. Buckeye Moen After Dark, Moen Vision. Wow. All of you are knighted. All of you are knighted. Cloak and Dagger. All of you are knighted Cloak and Dagger. That means you can go to our library of episodes, watch all the episodes, including the members only early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes. I very much appreciate it, Moen After Dark. Thank you so very much for that incredible generosity. Wow. Interesting day for Moen. Interesting day. I'm interested to hear what Moen has to say on the College Football Mafia show about what is going to happen with the presidency at Ohio State. Of course, it's important to Ohio State, but the Big Ten, we got a fracture, a lot of instability across the country. We've got Michigan and Penn State having some representatives, non-official, going to some smash capital meeting in Dallas, Texas. We got the SCORE Act that is trying to get passed. We need somebody in the presidency at Ohio State. And maybe, just maybe, Moen takes the spot. Can you imagine Moen with his bottle of Jack Daniels sitting at the table? He takes over the presidency at Ohio State. I wonder what Moen's first act would be. I wonder what he would do. I wonder who the first phone call that Moen would make. I would love to hear Moen talk about that first day in office at Ohio State. I would love to hear him talk about it on the College Football Mafia show. Make sure you check that channel out. Thank you, Moen. Appreciate it very much. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nick Kelso. Moen for the Ohio State president. Obviously, he called Kansas. Okay. All right. Moen After Dark. First act. Inappropriate relationship. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And a bottle of Crown Apple. Wow. Studzilla, they should hire me. I'll do it for half of what the previous guy made. C. John. Last time Utah was predicted to go undefeated in the Big 12, they finished at number 15th. It's almost like the talking heads like to rough the feathers of the Big 12. Moen is too predictable. All right, now for the big story. And then we'll get to your phone calls. Look, when this first broke, when the national reporters starting to show their excerpts of what Greg Sankey said to Paul Feinbaum's questions, I thought this is kind of good. It's kind of innocent. We're going to be fine. Everybody relax. And then you listen to the interview. Sankey delivers a warning shot. And I'm sorry, I listened to it twice. The second, I wanted to make sure that my radar was working. I watched the second time and I was like, no. Sankey, this is what Sankey does, very passive aggressive. Sankey delivers a warning shot to everybody. Everybody. Now let's go through the excerpts. I'm not going to be able to show you the interview. Please, I beg you, watch it, listen to it. Paul Feinbaum and Greg Sankey, please. If you think I'm off the wall on this, please listen to the interview. This is important. Incredibly important. Okay? And we all know, now look, there's a certain way that Greg Sankey speaks. Okay? And if you understand that, forget about his body language, the words he uses. I'll give you an example. After we go through this, I'll give you some examples of previous Sankey talk. Okay. So Ross Dellinger reports, asked about the SEC breaking away on Feinbaum, Greg Sankey acknowledges that many members are frustrated and enough to do that. Let's just stop right there. Now, when you read these words, it's one thing. To listen to Sankey say it, it's like a whole different conversation. Asked about the SEC breaking away on Feinbaum, Greg Sankey acknowledges that many members are frustrated and enough to do that. They're frustrated enough to do it right now. They're ready to go right now. Now, they're not going to. Politically, it's not even possible. They're going to try to see if the SCORE Act passed. This is Sankey's warning shot. Get this bloody SCORE Act passed. If not, well, we don't want to go there. Sankey doesn't want to go there. But there's already presidents, powerful presidents, Moorhead, that they already want to do it. In January, the SEC leaders expressed to Yahoo Sports that they want SEC-only governance that eventually may lead to SEC-only competition. That was January. We're in March. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. You gotta pass the SCORE Act. You got to. Or else. More Sankey. I've acknowledged there are those who have said we should go our own way. And they want to do it today. There are people in the SEC that are already past the point. Now, this is what Sankey does. I don't think that's the right decision. We have relationships and responsibilities within Division I. He cites issues politically as written in our January story with this move. Yeah, it would be very difficult. It would be very difficult. Sankey's giving everybody a warning shot. This ain't the right decision. It ain't the right decision now. I believe that's what Sankey meant. We're working on something. We're working on the SCORE Act. We have a responsibility. Every SEC team signed on the dotted line that document that said that they would not help their states sue this association that we're trying to create with the House versus NCAA settlement. They're the only conference. They're the only conference that every school signed that membership document. So the SEC saying we're all in on this governance, but God, we can't get everybody on board. Sankey, how do we work with colleagues? Can we do that collectively? If we cannot do so, that question, breakaway, starts to generate more interest. Now, he doesn't say starts to generate interest. The interest is already there, and there are people already ready to go. If you listen to Sankey say these words, it's completely different than reading it. Sankey, how do we work with our colleagues? Can we do that collectively? If we cannot do so, that question, breakaway, starts to generate more interest. I don't think anyone on any campus wants the status quo to remain. In our league, by unanimous vote, we can't go on as we are. Now, this is me talking. This is me speculating. I don't believe at this point, I could be wrong, but I don't believe at this point that there is a unanimous vote among the SEC presidents to go their own way, to go their own silo, to climb up that mountain. But I think they've said to all, if we don't get the SCORE Act passed, well, that silo option may get to a unanimous vote real quick. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, on with Paul Feinbaum. When asked about the league creating its own market or breaking away, and he veers toward expansion. I'd be fine if every other institution and every other conference stay right where they are. This statement shows more than any other statement. Sankey's saying to everybody, don't blame me if we go silo. Don't blame me if we go expansion. Just don't blame me. I don't want to go silo. We got to get a federal bill. We got to get a federal solution. We got to get a federal standards. We got to get the SCORE Act passed. I've been warning you. And look, I'd be fine if everybody stayed exactly where they are. I'd be fine if the Big Ten did not encroach on the South. I'd be fine if the Big Ten did not pick up other big markets. I'd be fine if the ACC stayed exactly where they are. If the Big 12 stayed exactly where they are, I'd be fine. Greg Sankey would be fine with this one region conference as long as nobody else becomes a little bit more powerful than they already are. This is the passive-aggressive Greg Sankey once again. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. In appearance on Feinbaum, Greg Sankey corrects the narrative around women's sports that they're being defunded or cut. That's at least not the case at the P4 level, where 60% of the 1,200 new scholarships the SEC added this year went to women's sports, he says. The threat, Sankey says, is more to men's Olympic sports. There are still healthy things happening, but acceleration of revenue sharing and cost of NIL, a shifting of multimedia rights or shoe deals that starts to threaten sports because you have to balance a budget. I plead with all of you. I plead with every one of you. Please go watch and listen to the Paul Feinbaum, Greg Sankey interview today. The words on a piece of paper does not do it justice. You got to listen to Greg Sankey. There's people in the SEC already willing to climb up Silo Mountain, to go it solo. There are already people in the SEC who are convinced this is the only way, that nothing is going to happen. Greg Sankey What he's telling everybody is the following. You might like it, you may not like it, but Greg Sankey is telling everybody the following. We need the SCORE Act passed. We need a federal standards that everybody has to follow. We need antitrust protection. We need a credible body that can enforce and create the rules that we all follow. If we don't get that, you know that the Southeastern Conference threatened to break away a couple of years ago over a certain percentile of the college football playoff distribution model. The SEC threatened to break away unless themselves and the Big Ten got the power to create the new college football playoffs. The SEC has already threatened to break away, already had meetings on a breakaway, by the way, with the Big Ten and Notre Dame, reported by Ross Dellinger a couple of years ago. The SEC already threatened to break away, made plans to break away over a lot less important stuff than what is going on right now. So yes, the Southeastern Conference is serious about it. Of course they are. You do not have President Moorhead saying it in public in 2 different interviews with 2 different outlets unless he was 100% serious about this option. And if you watch further in this interview, Greg Sankey, I wish he'd be more. I wish he'd give a little bit more grace. I mean, we're trying to get 60 senators on board, but Sankey basically swatted away the SBA. The Sports Broadcasting Act, the reform of it. Here we got a bipartisan bill that's going to be introduced this week that the SBA will become optional, not mandatory. Conferences or schools can pool their media rights together to negotiate and give some government guarantees that I don't know how the government would ever be able to guarantee all that, but whatever. If it gets 60 senators. I mean, all that is happening this week. And Greg Sankey basically says the SBA is something that we can talk about later. But now we've got to pass the SCORE Act. And if Greg Sankey was in the studio right now, I'd be telling him, you're not going to pass the SCORE Act unless you get 60 senators on board, and you're going to have the optional SBA in the bill, most likely. I think that's quite obvious at this point. Which gets me to thinking, is there already people in the SEC who have come to the strong belief that it is best for the institutions, best for the student athletes, best for the value of their athletic department, and best for the value of their conference, that the SCORE Act doesn't pass and that we go our own way, that we break away? Is there a big enough core, a big enough power in the SEC that has already made the decision, not a unanimous decision, not something that Greg Sankey is favoring right now, but is there already a big enough boulder in the road in the South that cannot be overcome? And so Greg Sankey is saying, forget about the SBA right now. I don't even care if there's bipartisanship over it. I don't care if it moves us to 60 votes. Forget about it. These are questions that I have. But months ago, when we declared the Big Ten and the SEC at DEFCON 1, and we got dragged over the coals, those morons are not dragging us over the coals anymore, are they? They're finally taking it seriously, aren't they? Everybody's taking this seriously now. And they should have. The moment that the governor, not the governor, the president of Georgia talked about it in the open. And then when Greg Sankey, for the first time a while ago, admitted that there were people in the conference talking about it. And now we got today. Greg Sankey wants people to take this threat seriously. This was a warning shot. In his passive-aggressive way, this was Greg Sankey's warning shot to everybody. Pass the SCORE Act. Or we got, in my humble belief, we got a whole lot more problems staring us in the face if the SCORE Act doesn't pass and the SEC goes silo. Buckle up, brace for impact. And then Greg Sankey's comment of, I would love for everybody to stay where they are, schools and conferences. That comment is not going to hold up, and he knows that. He knows that. He wants to tell everybody, it's not my fault. I wanted a federal solution. It's not my fault. I didn't want any more expansion. It's not my fault. I didn't want any more realignment anywhere. It's not my fault. He's laying the groundwork. Sankey and the SEC is laying the groundwork. All right, let's get to your phone calls. And of course, with all this happening, we got the spring meetings in May that's coming up. The Army of 24 finally has some traction. But this mountain silo, could absolutely crush the Army of 24. Could absolutely crush the Army of 24 dreams of getting us all together and create this very popular, successful 23-game playoffs for the national championship that would bind the interest of the Big 12, ACC, Big 10, and SEC. But this silo mountain is bigger, more powerful than any of Army of 24 if it should happen.
From
Edward the Auburn Tiger.
Edward the Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Greg, another great show. You always do a great job, man. We really appreciate all that you do.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate those kind words.
Yes, sir. I just want to make a comment and hear what you're saying. The way this is shaping up outside of more changes, which is happening all the time, it seems like the SEC is really setting up for what I call a checkmate. Because if you don't approve the SCORE Act, they're going to go silo. If you approve the SCORE Act, which says that a conference or school can pool their own media rights, if I'm understanding that correctly, well, you just incentivize the SEC and Big Ten to merge their media rights. This is they got them coming and going now. Unless the government entity forces issues, it's going to be a win-win situation.
I understand. A lot of people have that thought. I just can't get. I don't think the SEC and the Big Ten would merge, because in this bill, let's just pretend for a moment this bill actually passes, the bipartisanship bill of the SBA 1961. If you're going to pool their rights together, there are certain things you're going to have to do. There are going to be some strings attached. You're going to have a 14-member board deciding the negotiations. So, look, I don't think the SEC wants to give up any of their autonomy. I don't think the Big Ten wants to give up any of their autonomy. So I do not think that's a possibility. I think if this passes, I think the SEC will say, thank you very much for the option, but we're going to decide just to stay with our own, and the Big Ten's going to do the same thing. I really believe that's going to be the outcome. But there are other schools and other conferences that might take advantage of this option. But go ahead, Edward.
Well, I totally agree with that assessment you just gave. So I guess my next question is obviously they passed the SCORE Act, which the SEC and the Big Ten sounds like they're not going to participate. Why would that change their mind from going silo? Outside, because the only way you get the benefits of the SCORE Act is you have to participate in the SCORE Act. And if they're not going to participate in the SCORE Act, it's not going to benefit the SEC or the Big Ten at all.
Yeah, I mean,
does that make any sense?
Yeah, go ahead.
And so, I mean, so if they're going to do that, well, then they're already on a one course direction, as far as my opinion, from what I could see. Because you're not going to the SCORE Act is not going to benefit the SEC nor the Big Ten if they're not participating in it.
No.
Special...
So hold on one second.
Yes, sir.
Now,
and I'm sorry if you don't know the show and I don't understand what the SCORE Act
SBA is one part of the SCORE Act. It's one part of it. The SCORE Act would basically codify the House versus NCAA settlement, and that is what the SEC wants. So the SCORE Act would benefit the Southeastern Conference greatly and the Big Ten. They want the guardrails. They want a legitimate body. They want protections. Antitrust protections. They want this. The part that the Big Ten and the SEC, I don't believe, would participate in is the SBA reform part of it. But they would participate in all the other stuff. So I think the SEC would. Sankey wants this thing to pass. He's not really helping all that much, but he wants it to pass. But go ahead, sir.
So with that being said, do you think? I believe I'm down here in SEC country. I don't know everything, but the conversations that we're hearing, they don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. But just the tone down here is that minds are already being made up about this SEC only silo. I mean, the more they're talking about it, the more people are getting excited about it. And because people down here love SEC football, I mean, they would keep their channels on SEC channels all the time. And you see that reflected in the ratings. And so I really appreciate you giving me more of an explanation of what's going on. That's why I watch your show. And you keep up the good work, Greg.
You got it, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Edward. Appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Great call.
Goodbye.
From
Correct.
Rick, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks. I tend to believe the merger between the two, the SEC and the Big Ten, would occur postseason. I think they'd go into their own silo for the regular season.
Now, sure. Yeah, if they go silo. Yeah. Now, Edward was talking about them merging their media rights together, and I don't think they would do that.
No, I don't think they'd merge. I agree. I don't think they'd merge the media rights.
In regards to going their own silo, I don't know what would affect. Now, obviously, if the SEC goes in their own silo, the main reason they're going to do that is because they believe they're going to get some antitrust protection, right? As we talked about before. Now, does playing a championship game against the Big Ten champion, does that weaken their position in the courts in protecting the antitrust violation or not? I don't know the answer to that question, but I think that might play a part in whether they decide to play a college Super Bowl against the Big Ten champion, if that would happen.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with the two of them doing their own playoff that leads to a Super Bowl between the two. So their TV rights would be kept as whatever they agree. I mean, they would be SEC playing 12 games against other SEC teams, and the Big Ten doing the same. And then there would be a separate post-season contract between the two. There they would merge.
Okay.
And have equal pay, equal representation, equal pay in the playoff and the Super Bowl, the college Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, if all that happens, then you essentially.
But they would not play each other during the regular season.
Okay.
And that would be even more incentive, so that all the SEC fans could, eat up all of their SEC teams during the regular season without having to flip the channel, and would do the same. And then they can brag to each other all during the season about how one is better than the other, and then they start the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost an AFC NFC thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like the way that before there was a Super Bowl, or in real,
Yes.
in real life,
Yes.
the AFL and the NFL.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
they were always fighting. They always said, well, we're as good as you are. And the NFL would say, no, you're not. You're AFL. Until the Super Bowl came. And Game 3, when Namath turned it all around.
Yep. You're right. You
So
are correct.
I can see that happening.
Yep.
Thanks.
You got it, buddy. Great call, sir. Great call. On one hand, on a personal note, I mean, this is all yuck to me. This is yuck. This is I don't want this to happen at all. But I gotta. This is college football. Peek around the corner. Gotta give you the information on what we're hearing on public reports. So again, I do not consider it the chalk SEC going their own silo, but I got to tell you, SEC going in its own silo was probably plus 280 a month ago, plus 210 a week ago, and maybe it's plus 160 right now. It only takes 160. It takes a $100 bet to win 160, and that money is dropping because it's becoming more and more of a potentiality for it to happen. We got, if the score act at this point has got to pass. The SEC is using all of their leverage right now. It's a complete full court pass. And maybe that is why everybody's saying this has got to get done now. This has got to get done now. This has got to get done now. We've got people in the Big 12. We got people in the ACC. We got people in the Big 10 saying we got to get this done now. We got to get it done now. We can't wait another year. We cannot wait another year because the SEC is letting everybody know we're out of here. We're going to protect ourselves by going in our own silo, and then we're going to go to the courts while people sue us. And we're going to argue, well, we're our own conference. We don't have market power. We should be able to enforce our own rules. This is a freedom of association. If a student athlete wants to play in our conference, they know the rules. We have legitimacy, and they're probably going to, go that way. And then that's going to bring up SEC expansion. Of course it is. It's going to happen anyway. But we are great Sankey warning shot. And this might be his last one. Pass the Score Act. We are in an election year. If it doesn't happen soon, it's not happening. Get that? I wish Greg Sankey would have said, go ahead, add that bipartisan SBA in the bill. Go ahead, throw that in there. We're not going to participate in as an SCC, but if other conferences or schools want to pool their media rights together, go for it. I wish Sankey would have said that. I wish Petiti would say that. But it's almost like they need absolute victory on what is ever in the Score Act. There's got to be some compromise, or we're going to go on a breakaway.
Call from
Tristan Fibes.
Tristan Five, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. And listen, I wanted to give you credit. You stole the exact phrase that I was going to use. Sankey's laying the foundation of going in a silo. Yeah, I don't want this to happen, but it seems like it's, day by day becoming more likely. And I actually, you started to touch on a topic, and this is what I wanted to call you and ask about. If it comes to pass that they go in a silo, does that increase or, in your opinion, decrease the likelihood of maybe some teams jumping to get into the SEC?
Well, I think it's going to happen anyways. Either way.
You're talking about teams trying to go in, right?
Yeah. But I think going their own silo, I think it might quicken it.
It
might quicken
it. Okay.
So.
Well, the thing that I was going to mention is that I think that the SEC was emboldened to start contemplating this idea over the last couple of years, especially last year, with the ratings. They've been really getting stellar ratings. The addition of Texas and Oklahoma has just opened it up for them to get better and better ratings. And I feel like, I would have argued that going into the silo would hurt the ratings. But I've been listening, Greg, I'm a regular listener to your show, and there's been people arguing that, hey, fans are already in the silos. The ratings won't change a whole lot. And so if the SEC thinks that that's true, and they're looking at the ratings and they're saying, hey, we're getting really good ratings right now anyway, then I think that that's emboldening them to contemplate this move or whatever. So I don't know. I just wanted to ask that question and then give you that. If the ratings seem to be, if their ratings were not as good as they were, I don't think they would be wanting to do this.
You know what the interesting part to me on this story, and sometimes I look at it, I have my personal thoughts. I have my personal thoughts what I would want to happen. I have my personal thoughts what I think is going to happen. The information that is given to me by, sources and everything. But I also look at a story in a story format. In other words, what is interesting to me about this story, what adds more interest to me is there's only this story of a silo breakaway by the SEC. The shelf life of this story is very, very short. Just let me try to explain. When the SEC threatened that possible breakaway, which I did not take seriously, in regards of the battle of controlling the college football playoff format going forward and the money distribution of the college football. When the SEC did that, now it either they were going to get their own way, either they were going to get their way on having the power, the votes to dictate the format and the money distribution, 29% coming their way, or they were not, right? And it was going to come to a head. This is the same thing. Now, so we had a little bit of a breakaway pause, But now we're back into it where the SEC's like basically saying, if we do not get a federal solution, if we do not get a federal standard, if we do not get antitrust protection, if we do not get the SCORE Act passed, the warning shot is out there, right? And this ain't going to go on. If they don't get the SCORE Act done, like in the next couple of months, the story is only this. It's a shelf life is starting to run out on this. Like the threat ain't going to be a threat anymore. If eventually it's going to come to a head, and it's going to come to the head pretty soon in the next couple of months. Correct?
Yeah, I think so. And another point to this, Greg, is that. And you had filled in some of the information for me on a previous call going back about a month or two. But the Supreme Court decision where Kavanaugh was saying that the conferences seem like the right entities for enforcing rules. What's happened is that the environment's been created now due to that decision where the conferences don't believe, or I'm guessing this is my opinion, they don't think it's safe to try and enforce rules without Congress behind it. That's my feeling. I don't want the SEC to do what they're threatening at all. But if they're sitting in a room and saying, look, we got to have rules, we can't forge rules with other conferences and then try and build some enforcement, like the NCAA Part 2 or whatever. We got to have something from Congress to make it work. If they don't feel safe in doing that, if they feel like they're going to get sued if they do that, then to some extent, I think that there is justification for saying, all right, we're just going to go on our silo. Now, again, I don't want that to happen, but it's the threat of lawsuits, Greg. They can't go in, they can't go to Petiti and say, hey, let's just do this amongst ourselves. And they get sued every which way if they do that.
Yeah, and going in their own conference is like it's their only pathway now. I mean, we're getting to that point where they're going to take a shot at it and see if they get any antitrust protection. This is all coming to a head, man. This is like, there's no more time. Got to pass the SCORE Act. We can dream of other solutions, but the other solutions are not going to come in time. This is it. Get it passed.
So, Greg, are we saying now that, like you're saying, if it's coming to a head, are we saying that if the SEC, let's just say it's 2 months from now, okay, and so we're talking about May, could they say, all right, we're going in our silo in May, and then the upcoming football season is them in their silo? Or would it be the following season?
Well, that's a great question. Great question. How long would it take for the SEC to untangle themselves to go into the next, to go in their own silo?
Yeah.
How do they?
I have an opinion on that, too.
Go ahead.
When push comes to shove, Greg, they can move mountains. Okay? Everyone talks about how hard it is to, we got to redo the schedule, we got to cancel this series, we got to move things around. Yeah, under normal circumstances, you don't want to have to do any of that stuff. But in a crisis situation, they'll make it happen. They'll just get in a room and say, look, here's what we got to do. And Georgia won't play the Citadel, and LSU won't play Northwest Louisiana State, and they'll restructure it and come up with some extra games, to fill out the. In a weird way, they might even be able to make an argument if they're playing even more conference games. They might be able to go to their partner and say, "Hey, we deserve even more money. Look, the ratings we're giving you."
Yeah.
Right. So if let's say they play 10 conference games instead of 9 as a result of all this, maybe they try and get more money out of it. Who knows? Yeah. But they'll move mountains to make it happen, Greg. If the decision really comes down that that's what they're going to do, they'll be able to make it happen this upcoming season if they want to. unfortunately,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
that's just, I don't know. They gotta, it's these Supreme Court decisions, and then the network money being thrown around, and everyone's scrambling to kind of save themselves, I guess. I mean, it's like the Titanic's going down, and everyone's looking for a seat on a lifeboat,
Yep.
And so it's just permanent crisis now in college athletics.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, I appreciate you chat. Oh, by the way, you said you think it might accelerate someone taking the leap to go to the SEC. Do you have an idea who that would be? I thought it would have been FSU, but apparently now the chalk seems to be North Carolina. I don't know.
According to ever since June 15th of 2024, it's been North Carolina for what we believe to be the case.
Yeah, and now here's another minor factor that might play into that, Greg. Since the lawsuit was settled and FSU and Clemson kind of got their way, now they have uneven revenue distribution, and it's based on ratings.
Yep.
So North Carolina might be looking at that and going, man, if we can't get the ratings that Miami and Clemson and Florida State get, we need to go somewhere where we can get the revenue. So that might actually be a driver to get them out of the conference quicker.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, you're doing great shows, Greg. I'm enjoying them. Keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Great phone call once again by Tristan 5. Rod Nix, the big scoop is back, baby. And we've got Amanda Krisovich, front office sports. She does an incredible job. Greg Sankey to Paul Feinbaum on Trump, saying he would author another executive order. The White House has not called me for input at this point. Front Office Sports previously reported that Cody Campbell and Randy Levine will be involved, however. And, again, Greg Sankey, in his way, saying that the White House has not called me for input at this point, because Greg Sankey has also said executive orders, it's worthless. I'm sorry, it's absolutely worthless. And unless it has to do with the executive branch, an executive order is absolutely worthless. And Greg Sankey has probably let the White House know about it. I mean, only congressional action, the Senate and the House getting it passed, signed by Trump, get the SCORE Act passed. This is the only pathway. And if we don't get that SCORE Act passed, well, Silo Mountain. We're going to have more stories about Silo Mountain. Phone lines is open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. OBD done. We've got a super chat. The second one of the night, ladies and gentlemen. We had a wrestling super chat, and now we got a football super chat. These last 3 months in the midterms will be fascinating. Yeah, it's the SCORE Act has got to get passed now. Now, April, May, March, now. Once you get into the summer Everyone's campaigning. Forget about it. It ain't going to happen. This is, I'm, okay. Don't listen to me. Forget about everything I've said in this program. Go listen to the Paul Feinbaum, Greg Sankey interview yourself, and then come back tomorrow and let me know what you think. This is the not only to get to Opie's point. Hold on, everybody.
From
Mullen,
Can you hold on for just 1 second?
knock yourself out.
I just want to. Not only is this my interpretation, I mean, I'm more convinced than ever. Like, not only is this Sankey's warning shot, this could be the last warning shot. The last warning shot. And Greg Sankey's really not even helping him by kind of, swatting away the bipartisan bill of the SBA, whatever. He doesn't even care about. He doesn't care about this Olympic sports stuff. He wants the SCORE Act passed basically the way it is. Don't bother him with get this passed, because there's already people today in the SEC that wants to go their own way. They've had enough. They're frustrated. They're gone. Mullen, Mr. Buckeye, thank you for calling. Thank you for your incredible generosity in this program. Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it really comes across to me, Greg, like Sankey's on a mafia shakedown.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible if something were to happen to this Division I football. You know what I mean?
Of course, exactly.
If if we get that SCORE Act passed, maybe, possibly, but otherwise, accidents will happen.
Exactly.
And he's got to. It's basically extortion.
Exactly.
It's not basically extortion. It's extortion. The fact that he's just doing it in such a douchey way, with the passive aggressive comments like, well,
yeah,
we've heard from certain people. Sankey has no backbone. He was originally for the AQ model and then folded when his athletic directors were against it.
Yeah.
So who's to believe what Sankey's telling you the day, 7 athletic directors might come out tomorrow and the SEC will be in a silo.
Yep.
He goes with whichever way the wind's blowing.
And commissioners kind of do that anyways, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, they do that anyway, but
yeah.
Sankey is just more slimy about it. It's like I always tell people, you can't spell Sankey without snake. That's exactly what he is. He's a snake.
Now, Mullen, now listen now, okay? In May, there's spring meetings, right, for the SEC. We've heard reports that there's a gain in momentum among the coaches for the 2014 playoff, right? Well,
right.
But then, in the presidential level, there's probably there seems to be at least somewhat of a powerful core of support for a breakaway if we do not get the SCORE Act passed. So now we're coming into May. And the SCORE Act hasn't passed. And it doesn't look like it's going to get passed. We can't get to 60 senators. Well, all talk of a 2014 playoff probably isn't going to be worth diddly squat, because if we go silo, there ain't going to be a 2014 playoff, correct? So
no, at most you're going to have a 6, maybe 18 playoff.
Well, determining on like what these conferences can get away with in playing another conference without affecting their ability for antitrust protection. You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that shakes out. But again, if we get into May and there's not a SCORE Act pass, the 24-team playoff, even the 16, none of this stuff is going to matter because we're not going to have that same type of playoff if the SEC goes silo. That is my belief. But go ahead, sir.
I think you're going to have some access. I don't think that you're going to get the antitrust exemption without giving people like the Big 12, the ACC, the G6, the Big 10, some kind of access to a postseason.
Okay, but if the SEC, if they cannot get their antitrust protection through the SCORE Act, if it doesn't pass, the SEC's thinking is the only way we can get a now I might be thinking of I may be completely wrong here, but I believe the SEC's belief is the only way they can get an antitrust protection is to go their own conference, their own silo, okay? So the question is, if the SEC's in their own silo and they're playing 12 conference games amongst each other, do they lose that protection in the courts if they play a postseason with another conference? Do they have to completely stay silo so they don't have market power, so their conference is making all the decisions? Like, that's the question.
Yeah, you would have to get somebody with some legal knowledge, or at least legal knowledge beyond my legal knowledge, to figure all that out. But I would imagine you're going to have to continue access. And I completely understand they're going in a silo, but I think any postseason where they want to play a team from another conference, I think you're going to have to provide access for every conference.
But what if they don't even want to provide? What if they just have their own playoffs?
Well, they can do that. I mean,
what if
they're certainly welcome
20?
to do that, but
yeah, go ahead.
But they're not. It's not going to be a true national championship.
No, but I don't think they care. I don't think they care. In football, I'm talking. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody would recognize the winner as a national champion. So, I think the Big 10, the ACC, the Big 12, the G6 at that point could do their own playoffs, and whoever the winner of that's going to be declared national champion.
But if the SEC goes silo, wouldn't the Big 10 have to follow up and go silo?
I don't think so.
Because they would want antitrust, but they want to be able to set some rules and not get lawsuits.
But see, I think they'd be able to set those laws anyway because they would have leverage over the Big 12 and the ACC.
I don't know.
I think
I don't know.
I think at that point, if the SEC went into a silo, they would look towards the Big 10 for leadership. I believe the Big 12 and the ACC, whatever remains of the ACC, would do that. The only way I think the Big 10 would go in a silo is super expansion, where they get to 24 teams and they can do regional pods. Otherwise, I think, which they could, I mean, if it's an arms race, you know, that's something the Big 10 loves to do, is these arms races. So if they get to that point, they might go to 24 teams and say, hey, Notre Dame come in a scheduling agreement. We're at 25 teams technically, and we'll scoop up a Kansas, a Utah, a Virginia, or Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, and we'll enter our silo as the true national brand. But I don't know that they necessarily want to do that, but who knows? We'll see, Greg.
Yeah, we'll see. But the SEC is serious about this. I think you and I have agreed on this for many, many months.
Yeah, the coaches, the ADs, they control what happens in the SEC. The presidents are just hand puppets at this point. You know, if Nick Saban, when he was at Alabama, went in and told the president to squat and take a crap, you know, the president would have to do it and ask him what color and what size, you know.
But that Georgia president, though, man, he is for it. He's for that.
He is for it. he's for it unless Kirby Smart was against it.
I don't know.
I guarantee you, if Kirby Smart was against it, that president would be against it.
Wow. Mowing off the top rope once again.
Listen, these schools with these high-level football coaches, the coaches are, Ryan Day right now, well, he can't now because Ted Carter resigned, but whoever the interim president is, Ryan Day can just go in there and tell them what's going to happen, and that's probably what's going to happen.
What are your
when
thoughts?
Gordon Gee was president, he got in trouble for saying, Jim Tressel, I'm more concerned about Jim Tressel firing me than me firing Jim Tressel.
What are your thoughts? Is it going to be an inside person, a known person, or an outside person from Ohio State?
Well, I think interim-wise, Jim Tressel makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He's a former president at Youngstown State.
Yep.
Has Ohio State ties. He's the current lieutenant governor, but that only lasts another, I think, 9 months.
Yep.
So he's not running for any political office. If he wants a job as a full-time president, he could possibly do that. Generally, presidents at Big Ten universities have to have doctorate degrees, though.
Yep.
So you're going to have to find somebody who's got a doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not somebody from inside Ohio State, it's going to be somebody from an AAU university.
Mm-hmm.
Between Carter and the last president, we've put too much money into research expenditure expansion.
Yes.
So it's going to have to be somebody who's keenly involved in research and research expenditures and things like that.
Yep. Alrighty, Mo. Are you guys having a show tonight?
I'm not having a show tonight. I'll be on Friday.
Okay, I can't wait to hear what you got to say about the Buckeye situation, the Seidel situation. Holy smokes!
Yeah, and I never drink Jack Daniels, Greg.
Oh,
never Jack.
Oh,
it's always
apologies. I get my hard liquor stuff mixed up because I don't drink that stuff. But my apologies, sir.
No problem at all. I will talk to you later, Greg.
Right,
have a good one.
Beautiful call, mowing Mr. Buckeye from the top rope once again. Man, oh man, oh man. DEFCON 1, DEFCON 1, DEFCON 1. We've got a super chat. OPD Don once again leading the super chats. He has provided 95% of the super chats in the month of March. Holy smokes. Thank you, OPD Don. You're helping us keep the lights on single-handedly. Almost single-handedly. We've had very good, incredible generosity with our membership. PLG, Moen. I appreciate everybody. OPD Don, hold on 1 second. Hold on.
From
Fred.
Fred, can you hold on for just 1 second, sir?
Yes.
I got to get caught up on the super chats. OPD Don has been incredibly generous once again. Well, if anyone would know, it's Moen, as he is part of the CFB Mafia. Yeah, I'm very... when Moen talks about Ohio State next Friday here, it's going to be must-see TV. What he says about what's going to happen with the Buckeyes and the president. Because, Moen's going to talk to people all week long. So you got to watch College Football Mafia show anytime that it's on, but especially this Friday night when Mo and Mr. Buckeye is going to be on. Thank you so much, OPD Don. I appreciate it. And we got another super chat. Another super chat from OB D Don. LSU Tiger. I see UNC country like LSU as a sleeping giant that just needs to have the right coach because they have some horses in that state. Just to add here, SEC folks hold the SEC champ as the bomb. In other words, Opie's saying whoever Whoever wins that silo championship is the national champion. That's what, I almost said Moen. That's what OPD Dunn believes. SEC country, we don't need anybody else to declare champion. We don't need anybody else. In regards to North Carolina, I mean, I think that the SEC looks at the possible addition of North Carolina not in a football particular thought process. They're looking at North Carolina. They're going to, in 2030, they're going to be the 7th most populated state in the country. No Big Ten SEC team in the state of North Carolina. North Carolina has the correct demographics for the student apocalypse. North Carolina has an international outreach along with Virginia. North Carolina would provide a different, more diverse student population among the region of the Southeastern Conference, and of course North Carolina with their incredible research, along with the state, along with the University of Virginia, and I think the SEC is going to be looking at streaming internationally, much more than bigger than the zone part of it. North Carolina fits perfectly in the Southeastern Conference plans, regardless if they can win more than 6 football games a season. Thank you so much, OPD Don. Fred, thank you for your patience. I very much appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Well, just there, what you said at the end, Greg, I'm thinking that the SEC teams would appreciate North Carolina coming in as a team that they can beat.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a plus in a lot of different ways for the SEC.
Yeah.
It's really fun, Greg, talking and answering legal questions when you don't know anything legal.
I know nothing. I absolutely know nothing. I apologize if I lead people on. I think everybody knows that I am the original Minnesota moron. So go ahead, Fred.
No, I was just saying, but that doesn't stop me. I don't know anything legal, but I still say, I just go ahead and say it. Here's the thing. The SEC cannot know ahead of time, if they go to a silo, that they have antitrust exemption. It's only after the fact that that's going to be determined.
Yeah.
It's based upon, as I understand it, it's based upon one Supreme Court justice who stated in essence that the conferences may have the ability to do individually. But that's just one person making one speculation. So you have to go into the silo without knowing. And if Big Ten goes into a silo too, and they just kind of, without talking about it, come up with some of the same governance rules of the two conferences.
Without talking about it, without a paper trail.
Yeah, and they add 6 to 8 more teams. It might be able to be argued that you do have market share between those two leagues, what you do.
It's market power.
Market power.
Yeah.
But somebody may come in and say, "Hey, look, these two leagues are the big leagues in college football, and if they both agree on these rules of governance, you can't give them antitrust exemption, and we don't know what judges would do. So you might be in it for a year or two before you even know if doing that really gets you where you want to go." That's why I agree with you. The SCORE Act is the way to go if it can be done.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But we're running out of time, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, urgency sometimes, causes people to make decisions where if they can wait another year, they're going to wait another year.
Yeah.
So that may be part of what Sankey is trying to do, is saying, if you think we can come back next year and talk about it, we might not.
Yeah.
So it's just a very critical time, and I appreciate all you and your callers talking, all these possibilities that could happen.
Yeah.
We live in interesting times, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay, Greg, you take care. Good
you got
talking
it, buddy.
with you.
Beautiful call. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Oh,
sir.
sure.
You got
Absolutely. Take care.
it. You got it. And I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm going to defend Brett Yormark for a moment. Brett Yormark has been getting a lot of arrows shot at him for his comments about not supporting the Cody Campbell plan, not supporting the Smash Capital plan, and all this stuff. And I'm wondering about Brett Yormark's future in the Big 12. We're going to talk about that later this week. We may even have to talk about it tomorrow. I'm wondering if Brett Yormark feels that he's the right guy for the job. Because, a commissioner, he's got to have vision. He's got to put out his vision. He's got to present his vision. He's got to push what he believes is correct. But ultimately, he serves at the privilege of the presidents. Right? The presidents are his boss. But there comes a time where your vision of the conference might be completely different than the president's. And Brett Yormark has come under fire from Big 12 fans and Big 12 YouTube channels. And I would just say the following. Brett Yormark has a vision of the Big 12. You may agree with it, disagree with it. He's got a plan. He's always has a plan. And he does not want to give up Big 12 autonomy. He does not want to give up the future of the Big 12 to some 14-member board that would do the negotiations for him and for the conference and the media negotiations. He doesn't want to give up that autonomy. One of the principles, one of the reasons he's probably was interested in the job is so he could go in there and make that deal. And he did. He got in front of the Pac-12 and he got a deal done and was able to expand the conference. I don't think Brett Yormark wants to give it up. And I don't blame him. Now, for those who think that Brett Yormark is absolutely incorrect, that he should follow the Cody Campbell plan or the Smash Capital plan, or if he should just... Okay, that's fine. But from Brett Yormark's perspective, I can see him thinking, these guys, they're not... Who's making the decisions for the Big 12? Who's going to be negotiating? I've got this relationship with the networks. I've got this idea of getting a relationship with the big streaming giant. We've got these international plans. I'm trying to get this private equity, this or whatever you want to call it, with Otro Capital. I'm trying to get this deal set up. I've tried to get UConn in the mix because of the market, because of the basketball. I'm trying to figure out this decoupling of the basketball and football products and sell them individually. He's got these ideas. Agree with them, disagree with them. Oh, that's fine. But why would he give up all of that and give it to some no-name, faceless government entity or some board that would, the Smash Capital Board? He doesn't have interest in any of that. You might like those glass, that basketball thing, what they're doing with the basketball courts, Big 12 tournament. You might like that. You might not like that. But again, that's innovation. Innovation that really only comes from leadership that is accountable to the presidents, not some board that's not accountable to the schools or the conference. I think Brett Yormark philosophy is 180 degrees different from this Cody Campbell stuff and the Smash Capital stuff and all of this stuff. I don't think Brett Yormark is a believer in any of this. So maybe it is Brett Yormark's time to say, it's been a pleasure. Because obviously the Big 12, I don't know. There seems to be a separation of vision there. We've got Kenneth Maynard Super Chat. Appreciate you, EC Pirate. Thank you so very much, Super Chat. We'll talk about the Brett Yormark possibly tomorrow, later on this week. Kenneth Maynard, thank you for the $10 holler. Keenan Stadium is Chapel Hill. Will have to expand in the future in the SEC. 60,000 isn't enough with the tons of SEC alums in the triangle. UNC with SEC money and branding will make them a good real fast. And of course, the number one, maybe it's not the number one, but one of the top issues that North Carolina athletic department has right now, and Bubba Cunningham and the new athletic director, Newmark, and the chancellor, is what are they going to do with the basketball arena? Are they going to remodel it? Are they going to rebuild it at, what do you call it? North Campus, North? Something like that. Or back where the original arena is. You've got 3 different options at Chapel Hill. Some of them more expensive than others. And they're all getting different type of support behind the 3 options. And that's one of the things about North Carolina. They're the top candidate for SEC, maybe number 2 candidate for the Big Ten. Growing state, we talk about all these things. But North Carolina, they're not fully aligned. They're not. A lot of different groups at North Carolina. And of course, they got the Board of Governors, who makes a lot of financial decisions. They make all the litigation decisions. They're going to make the realignment decisions, the Board of Governors, which is outside the preview of Chapel Hill. So, again, it's all very complicated. All very complicated. Thank you for the $10 holler, Mr. Pirate, but you're absolutely correct. North Carolina is one of the top 2 targets. Top target for the SEC. I appreciate it, Mr. Pirate. Thank you so very much. I do want to say thank you to Kenneth Maynard, OBD Dunn, Mowing After Dark, and MBM for your donations to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Incredible phone calls once again. Rick, Tristan 5, Fred, all of you, an incredible job once again. I want to thank all of you. Greg has got it wrong all over again. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. Ring the notification bell. We can come on live at any time. You got to ring the notification bell. You got to get notified. We could come on later tonight with breaking news. So you've got to smash the like button if you've liked our content. Hit the thumbs down if you did not like our content. Subscribe, ring the notification bell, share the video. I appreciate all of you once again. We've just started. This week has just begun. March 9th. We got a lot more to talk about. And I do want to do a deep dive into Brett Yormark's future in the Big 12. And I got a lot more things we want to talk about. We're also going to be doing the SEC PATC quarterback rankings. We've already done the Big 12. We already did the Big 10. We just finished the ACC. We're going to do the SEC quarterback rankings. And I'm telling you, the Southeastern Conference is loaded at the quarterback position. Absolutely loaded. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.